Here at the ARA conference in Boca Raton, Florida, we're talking with Bob Willard, president of Willard Agri Services in the Chesapeake Bay area when we talk about Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland. And Bob, thank you for joining us. That's kind of the epicenter of a lot of the environmental and sustainability talk right now because of the whole Chesapeake Bay area. What's your approach to doing business in that area as an ag retailer?
Well, what we like to do, Mike, is we have this system called the High Q system, and basically what it does is keep records for farmers. And we think record keeping is going to be a key component to how we can sustain agriculture in the Chesapeake Bay region. And we really need to sustain agriculture. Even our friends from the environmental community will admit that agriculture is a better use of the land than turning it into houses. And in our part of the world, that's what happens when land goes out of agriculture. It becomes housing developments.
How big of concern is that? We've heard that some of these regulations that are being proposed could actually shut down agriculture in that area. Are you fearful of that?
I'm certainly fearful of it because I've been there in agriculture my whole life. My family's been there for hundreds of years. I'm hoping that reason will come in to prevail and that some of these won't happen. Yes, some that have been proposed would absolutely, agriculture would not exist in its present form. I mean, it wouldn't exist at all, really. So,
give us an example of some of the stewardship practices that are being used in that region right now.
Well, we've had, Mike, we've had mandatory nutrient management plans for, I think, about 15 years now. That has really reduced the rates of particularly P and K. I would say our rates of phosphorus applied in our region now are less than half of what they were 15 years ago. Nitrogen rates are down slightly, but per bushel of corn they're down dramatically. I think we're growing 70% more corn now on the same pound of nitrogen. So that's pretty dramatic, and that's the kind of things we need to do. But we're just trying to help our growers have the best BMPs possible, and we're trying to grow more crops on the same acre. And our theory is the more you can take up, the more crops you grow, the more fertilizer you take up, and then there's none left to run off and get in the Chesapeake Bay.
Do the people that live in that area understand that agriculture is using the best management practices and trying to be good stewards?
No, they don't. I mean, as much as all our organizations try to get the word out, I agree with what somebody said in talks there earlier today. We're mostly talking to ourselves, and they don't. And I'm a great example. I live along the Chesapeake Bay, so and I've got a boat, and I like to fish and crab, and I like good water. I like clean water. I'm a proponent. But when I talk to my neighbors up and down my street, they basically don't know what agriculture is. They think food comes from the grocery store, and I think we've got a lot of work ahead of us to get the message out that what we do is actually good stuff, and we're feeding the world, and we're trying to do it responsibly.
So two big challenges: to keep implementing best management practices and explaining to consumers what farmers are doing to protect the environment.
And number two is going to be harder. Doing the BMPs has turned out to not be all that difficult, and we, it's actually been opportunities. When they did mandatory nutrient management plans in Maryland, we thought that was going to be terrible. Farmers thought it was going to be terrible. We geared up to write them. We took care of it, and it was pretty much, we got to move on. Rates came down, but everybody adjusted, and it actually was a good thing for everybody.
Is the concern also that agriculture will be asked more than it can do to be economically sustainable?
Oh yes, absolutely. That's some of the proposed regs have been some of my guys that look at it, like in the Delaware Maryland Agribusiness Association. He said fallow ground would put out more nitrogen and such for the next 25 years, and you still wouldn't meet those regulations. So they're not based on science. They're based on emotion, and that's just, hopefully we don't go there at all. So
and the rest of the country is watching closely what happens in that Chesapeake Bay area. Thank you. I appreciate you being with us.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Bob Willard, president of Willard Agri Services in the Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware region. Here at the ARA convention in Florida, I'm Mike Adams.